Good morning, class. Malcolm Rigsby here, your professor. I wanted to let you know that the literature review assignment in the literature review module in our class is now open. And I just wanted to run through a few things so that you would understand exactly how this works. Let me put this in your view so that you will be able to better see what we're looking at. So the announcement is getting ready to be posted on this, and you will go to the modules, scroll down to the new assignment that is open, literature review paper, instructions for criminology, and that will download. You can either watch it through this viewer or you can just simply download it. If you download it, then you'll get it in a PDF. Note that this assignment is worth a total 200 points. 100 points is for the written paper and 100 points for the presentation, which we will conduct the last couple of weeks of class using Zoom. Make sure, above all things, that you go through the Writing Center with an online appointment so that they can review your paper for ASA format as well as plagiarism. I'll let you read through this, but basically what we're looking for is a literature review. Some of you have already conducted a literature review in research methods or other classes. Some of you will be confused in thinking that this, especially if you've had research methods or statistics, that this is a research proposal. It is not a research proposal. It is the literature review. A literature review is one section of a research proposal. It is limited to your investigation of the past and current literature on the topic and subject matter that you're investigating, where you try to express what the research has found to date. There may be 2 positions, there may be 3 positions, but you will analyze the material and say, okay, there's 3 ways of looking at this, or there's 2 ways of looking at this. Here's what the research says in each situation. Then you discuss the literature in depth. You discuss the weaknesses that you perceive as well as the strengths, and then you summarize it in a conclusion and come to some sort of a consensus in your mind as to how the literature complements itself. And you could go as far as saying, if you were going to do research on this, these are some things you would investigate. But you do not write hypotheses. You do not try to determine the research method or design that you would follow in investigating it. Okay? I've got lots of articles in this folder that will help you to understand what a literature review is. So the goal of this is for you to make a case and explain how the theories that you selected may be employed to help you explain a criminality, how it onsets, how it develops over time, how it desists, the person might move out of criminality, how it might be useful in fighting crime or identifying types of crime or criminal types, helping individuals to desist. It might be on corrections or a treatment model for criminals. It could be on victims, victimology, okay? So there's all types of topics and particular themes that you could investigate in this paper, and they would all be fair. I will have you a scoring rubric in the module. Note that there are timelines that we'll look at here in just a second, and that there are point deductions as well as bonus points for meeting or failing to meet the timeline. I want to make sure that you know that within a week or so, you will have to present to me, turn it in the Dropbox, a concise thesis statement, which is a mini introduction that focuses us on your topic and what it is that you're going to particularly investigate in regards to that topic. There'll be 20 points deduction if you do not use the Writing Center. So I expect you to use the Writing Center at least once. It's online, and they will meet with you via Zoom and go over your formatting in American Sociological Association ASA format, plagiarism questions, logic, flow, whatever issues you're having, grammar. 10 points deduction if you do not pass the plagiarism training quiz. I don't think I've ever had anyone not pass it, although some have simply not taken it. Well, that's 10 points. 20 points for being late, okay, and that's very, very late in the semester. All right. I do want to note that there are bonus points if you turn in within the early time frame. All right, so the timeline. October the 8th, you need to have emailed me with 3 potential topics that you want to investigate, either from the list or specifically tell me what you would like to investigate, and if I approve it, even with modification, then that would be your topic. No topics are to be, or closely topics are to be duplicated. So I will be watching for that. I want you to number those topics in your order of preference. Number 1 being your first choice, number 3 being your last choice. October the 15th, you are to send me a thesis, sentence, or problem statement, if you will, for your literature review. I would advise you that especially if you're having trouble generating a good thesis sentence, that you use the thesis sentence generator tool that I have in the module, and we'll look at that in just a second. There will be a Dropbox for you to deliver this to, and I'll show you that in the module. November 16 through 20, early time, okay? 5 points bonus for turning in early in the assignment Dropbox. November 21 through 30, you're considered to be on time. There's no deduction, but there's no bonus either. December the 1st through December the 3rd, that's immediately following, I think starting with the Tuesday after we returned remotely to classes after Thanksgiving. Note that there is a deduction. After December the 3rd, that's the last day that we can have new material on campus before finals week. If it's after December the 3rd, I will not accept it for a grade. It's a 0, okay? Instructions. Follow this. I want a concise literature review. Discuss at least 2 types of applicable criminological theory that we've looked at in the text or is located in the text somewhere. You can access the entire text through the Cengage links on the right side menu of Cengage in our course. Compare and contrast the strengths and weaknesses of the theories that you have chosen. Explain weaknesses, strengths, how they can help solve the problem or the criminal issue or the victim needs, etc., correctional model that you're investigating. And explain how you could put these 2 theories together, combine them, maybe the strong points of each theory, so that you could resolve this issue in the future, and potentially, if you'd wish to do it by a research investigation of that. I've already mentioned this. It's not a research proposal. It's a literature review. Links. Here's a writing guide. Here's your link directly to the Huey databases, which you will be using academic peer review articles. in criminology, sociology, biosocial, psychological type journals. On crime, crime types, entering, disengaging, life of crime, victimology, corrections, punishments, etc. Note that if you're also having trouble coming up with a good thesis sentence or even finding initial literature on what it is you're looking for that's exactly what you want, you can go to the research coach, and it is also linked to the same page. So you've got the database and you've got the research coach. This is an individual online that will work with you to help you get started in a few appropriate references. References are what we call the academic journal articles. Try to steer away from books, right? Stick with the journal articles. They're short, 15 pages at most usually. Some are a little bit longer, but they're more current than books, and you'll get bogged down in trying to use books. So stick with the journal articles. Writing Center, remember I said that you do need to have at least one meeting with the Writing Center. Here's your direct link. You'll go to the Writing Center. If you haven't used it, you set up an account by registering for it. If you've already got your username and password, and use your Redis because it will give you less trouble getting logged in. And then you log in and it gives you a calendar and you select the day that's open and the person that's there. I encourage you to use John McManus because John is in charge of the Writing Center under Dr. Pont, but also because John is very familiar with ASA format. Now, if we go back to the instructions, plagiarism training required. I've got you a link for that. Oh, here are some extra workshops this semester on the Writing Center if that will help you. All right, requirements of the paper. You will have a cover page. That's not numbered. It's not part of the paper. You'll have a reference page. Reference pages always start over with page number 1 even though they follow all the rest of the paper. Okay, so this is the end, that's the beginning. Neither of these are considered to be within the number of pages for the paper. Okay, I said 10 pages there, but that's an average. Body of the paper, minimum length 8 pages if you single space, 16 if you double space. Font, Roman 12. Page numbering, etc. needs to all be in conformity with the writing style, which we're using, which is American Sociological Association Style Guide. They have the 5th edition out, but if you can access a 4th edition, and some of my examples are 4th edition, that's fine. Just use one of the two and stick with it. Use the same one all the way through for everything. You can get copies here, but I also have some copies online, or some partial copies, at least for the material that you'll need. Citations are in text, which means you actually put a parentheses either at the beginning or the end of the sentence, depending on how you're writing your form, and you'll see those in the examples. References, a minimum of 8 professional peer-reviewed journal articles for this paper. So use the electronic databases in Huey, not popular magazines or trade magazines or newspapers, etc. Those are not countable sources. They will not count towards your 8 references. In your introduction, while you're getting our interest and showing us that this is really a problem, you can quote articles, TV programs, news items, etc. While they're not appropriate for these 8 references, you can cite and reference them in the introduction, right? Maybe there's a news story of something that just really hits home with what you're investigating. You can use that as something to grab our attention, and you would cite it and you would reference it, but it would not be included within this official 8 articles. Okay, when the time comes, we're going to hand it in a Dropbox. It will run a Turnitin report for you. You'll need to look at that Turnitin report and make sure that you're within the acceptable guidelines for suspicious writing that might be plagiarized, etc. If not, then you need to make those corrections and upload it again, and it will allow you to upload as many times as you wish. And then the oral presentation. Okay, but that's a little ways out. The topics, here are the topics. So go through those, and also, like I say, if you have something in specific that you want to list it as one of your three proposals, and I will look at it and tell you whether or not we can work with that or whether we need to work on it a little bit and fine tune it. Okay, if we go back to the modules, so here are your instructions we just looked at. Here's your Ashford thesis sentence generator. And if you're having problems, you just go through and you answer the questions, and it's going to run you some alternatives to help you. It's not going to be exact. It's not going to be the best thing, but it might help you to get started and get moving in the right direction. The Dropbox for the thesis statement then will be due October the 15th. It will remain open a few days later, but if you upload it after the 15th, it will be late. 10-point deduction. Here is some plagiarism training created by John McManus at the plagiarism training just the other day. And here is a quiz. And once the quiz is completed, you can have the results emailed directly to me so that I'll know you've taken it, and you need to have at least 80%, or excuse me, 90%. A direct line to the Writing Center for you to set up your advising. Articles on what a literature review is. Here's a YouTube on what it is. Here's how to write in criminology. These are all resources for you. Here's the grading rubric for the writing. I'll have a separate one for the oral later. Okay. And I will score you on this. So I would suggest that as you're writing, you look at these categories and try to address everything that I'm going to be looking at. And there you'll see how I total it out. Last, American Sociological Association, here are some examples, okay, of how to use it. Right Style Guide, ASA 4, PDF, which is excellent. It gives you this over here. Here's lots of examples, okay. On how to use that. Then here is the workshop by Grant Reimers, who is also in the Writing Center a couple of years ago, who gave me permission to continue to use this. And here is his PowerPoint, which works you through virtually everything for setting up and writing an ASA. All kinds of examples of citations and references. So you've got all your tools right here. So that is our assignment. Take a look at those and start choosing your topics so that you can get those to me by the 8th. And then the next deadline, of course, is going to be the thesis sentence on the 15th. and there's you some help in getting that started. Thank you very much.